Okay. Okay. Good evening. My name is John Jory. I am Chair of the Harwich Finance Committee. Today is March 15th, 2022. We are going to open our meeting, the Finance Committee, with a roll call vote in attendance. Dale?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
Karen?
Here.
Angelo?
Here.
Dan?
Here.
And Mark A. We have two Marks on the meeting, so we have a quorum of 7 people are here, so we can start our meeting. Welcome to the people on dialing in. If folks want to speak at all time, please unmute your mic and just ask to speak at any time through the agenda items. I'm not sure what folks are here for, but speak, just unclick and identify yourself and that you are and where you live. Thank you. The first item on the agenda, as you can see here, is item A. Oh, first, is there any public comments or announcements by anybody? Hearing none. Item number 3, item A, to discuss and adopt detailed revised minutes of the March 3rd, 2022 Finance Committee meeting pertaining to the deliberations of the Finance Committee regarding the operational budget of the town, which occurred after the meeting was adjourned and the cameras were off. This agenda item was provided to me by the town's attorney, John Jorio. He represents as town council as to what we need to put into the agenda item for us to discuss the March 3rd meetings. We will be pertaining to this, to the March 3rd meeting is what this agenda item relates to. We're going to go down to item B now, and we're going to start with to discuss and approve meeting minutes of March 10th, March 22nd, and then March 3rd, 2022. The first meeting minutes that we're going to approve were posted. They were the March 10th meetings that we met on Thursday, March 10th, 2022. Does anyone have any discussion points on this meeting? Okay. Hearing none, if I could have Dale, you make the motions tonight. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes of February 10th, 2022.
Do you have a second?
Seconded.
Mark seconded it. All those in favor? I'll do it by roll call vote. Dale?
I think I need to abstain because I wasn't.
Oh, excuse me. You're absolutely right, Dale. The March 10th meeting, Dale was not here, and he's abstaining. Thank you for pointing that out. And Mark Keller, he was there, but he wasn't a member at the time of the meeting. I believe it's this one. Yes, yeah. This is Mark Keller joined us for the meeting, but he wasn't there for this one. So abstain, and Mark would abstain also.
I'll abstain.
Karen?
Aye, I approve.
Approved. Angelo?
Aye.
Mark? And
Aye.
Mark A. And I approve too. Passes 5 to 2 abstentions. Moving on to February 22nd, 2022. I'd like to entertain a motion to discuss and approve.
I'd like to move that we review and approve the meeting minutes of February 22nd, 2022.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. A motion's been made, it's been seconded. Again, on this one, Karen was not present at this meeting. So she can abstain from this meeting. The minute meetings there of February 22nd, which was a Tuesday, 2022. Does anyone have any discussion on these meetings? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to do a roll call vote on these meetings. Dale?
I approve.
Mark?
Aye. I approve.
Karen abstained, she wasn't here. Angela? Dan?
Aye.
And Mark? Aye. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 6 votes, 1 abstention. Okay, moving on to March 3rd meeting minutes.
like to make a motion that we review and approve the meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2022.
You have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Motion's been made and seconded. On this meeting here, this was the March 3rd meeting. And I'm going through the meeting minutes, and we'll get to the portion at the agenda item in the letter A mentioned. So we'll just go down through the meeting minutes to section 5, and if anyone has any discussion points on those. Well, I'm going to take, there's two parts to these meeting minutes here. First part is discussion 5, when we were still in session, and then we adjourned that meeting at 7:48 p.m. And then after that, if no one has discussion points, we'll just move on to after the when we still were being recorded, and then when the recording went off. Does anyone have any discussion points on up to item 5? And again, make a note on this one. Dale Kennedy was not in attendance, nor was Karen Doucette. So it's just the 5 of us up here will make comment on it. Of course, you can ask questions, but you weren't here, so it's hard to vote on something that you weren't here for. After the meeting, I'm going to read what took place. After the meeting, the following discussion took place. This video can be viewed on Harwich Town website under Channel 18 tab, and by clicking on the YouTube icon and selecting the Finance Committee for March 3rd, 2022 meeting. And this is what I have submitted to Town Council. This was a recollection of the members present of what happened, and we'll get to those comments later on in the meeting, and then we'll discuss that. And I forgot to ask anyone on the viewing us if you had any questions on the March 10th meeting, the February 10th meeting or the February 22nd meeting. Let me know, or if you have any comments on this meeting, just unmute your mic and let us be known, and we can address that. Okay. Before the audio these minute meetings are all on our website for people to review and follow along. Before the camera /audio was turned off at the adjournment of the meeting at 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 54 seconds, video mark, a comment was made by Brian Weiner. Are we off? The response by the chair, John Chory, was, we are still green, we are still red. At video mark 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 1 second, the video mark, a comment was made by Chair John Chory, there we go. At 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 2 seconds, the video mark, Brian Weiner said, well, gentlemen, and Angelo, unless I'm mistaken, now that the meeting is over, unless I'm mistaken, my concern with this appears to be, at 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 16 seconds, the video mark on the camera and audio stopped. What was said after this appears to be was, and this is the recollection of members that were in attendance. One of the comments was, there was a good discussion on the budget that night. The second recollection was, we did not continue speaking about or with any specific info. Third comment was, nothing more was said than what was in the video. And the last comment was, very good budget discussion and something about, I think, needing more discussion on revenue forecasts for FY23. These are the 4 responses I received from the majority of the finance committees who were present at the meeting and who responded back to me with their recollections of what was said in the meeting. And when the video and audio stopped, we all got up and left the room. Finance committee members, again, Karen Doucette and Dale Kennedy were not present at the March 3rd meeting, at the March 3rd, 2022 Finance Committee meeting. Any and all corrective action and remedial action is being taken. These minutes were respectively submitted by Mark Keller, acting secretary. Okay. At this point, Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to this meeting? If you remember something differently, please speak up, and we will amend these minute meetings to reflect that discussion, and then we approve the meetings. Dan?
Just a point of clarification. I seem to recall that Mr. Kokonis stated that someone at some point in time said, now the real meeting can begin.
Brian said, well, gentlemen, and Angelo, unless I'm mistaken, now that the meeting is over, unless I'm mistaken, this appears to be. That was the record.
So, Mr. Kokonis.
I don't know what Mr. Kunis saw or referencing, yeah.
Well, I reviewed his statements earlier, and he said that it was stated by, I think, he was accusing Brian, that he stated that Brian said, now the real meeting can begin.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I reviewed the tape. I imagine that other people reviewed the
I
tape,
don't recall that.
and
I reviewed the tape and I went end to end with particular focus on the end. And I didn't hear the words that Mr. Kokonis described.
and again, we're not here
the
to.
point being that he's made a misleading statement.
Well, I can't speak for Mr. Kunis. All I can speak to is what I saw on the tape, and
Well, that's what I'm saying, is Mr. Cocoon is on tape making that statement.
again, I can't speak to what he's referencing. I'm not sure, Dan. So.
But he was incorrect in referencing.
Yes.
Pardon?
He was incorrect in
I
referencing.
do not know that, and I looked at the tape. I wrote down what I thought I heard, and submitted this to legal. They reviewed the tape, and they said it was okay to post these recollections. So I can't speak to what other people thought, heard, or interpreted. I just can't.
Just on another question, do you know whether the recordings are going to be sent to the Attorney General's office?
No idea, Dan. This is the first step of a process of answering a complaint that was registered by a Mr. Ron Beatty, and we are going through the process as advised by town council. I do not know how this is going to end up, but this is the first step, is acknowledging that something happened, which we did do. I'm not denying that. We did speak after the meeting was adjourned, and we're addressing that.
Yep.
And this is what I've been advised by town council to do. After this, there is some follow-up discussion that we have to do, and I believe I've sent the committee on what those follow-up things are. And we'll follow this to the end where it goes. We have nothing to hide. We're clear and open transparency. It was wrong what we did, and we're rectifying it. As I said at the closing thing, we're taking any and all corrective and remedial action is being taken. There's nothing more we can do. This is the recollection of myself, the members present, and the audio. The audio is very clear on what it says and stuff. So, if anyone has any further discussion or online, let me know. Otherwise, I'd like to, and I don't want to. We can talk about it as much as you want. I'm not trying to stop the meeting or anything, but I can only speak to what I heard in my recollections of it. I can't speak about any other conjecture by anybody else other than the complaint that was filed, and we'll answer that complaint and go to the next step.
Should we ask the people online if they have a?
I asked them already, twice I asked them that, yeah. But thank you, Dale. Okay, I'd like to make a recommendation to approve the minutes. Hearing no other further discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to move that we approve the meeting minutes of March 10th, 2022.
March 3rd.
March 3rd, I'm sorry, 2022.
Seconded.
Seconded. Motion's been made and seconded. Dale will abstain because he wasn't there.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Angelo?
Aye.
And
Aye.
Aye.
And Karen abstained, just in case it wasn't. I'm not sure how well these mics pick up talk, but Karen abstained, and I too. So that's a majority of 5 to 2 abstentions. Thank you all, and we will take care of this. That's all I can say on this matter. Again, nothing to hide. It was a mistake that I made, and I accept full responsibility for the committee and wherever that may be. Next on the agenda is was going to be Eric Beebe to give us a presentation on the pickleball and basketball courts. This is a joint presentation on two courts that they're looking to build and add on to at Brooks Park. We're not going to discuss it tonight because Eric is going to be discussing it in a joint session with the selectmen on March 17th. And I thought, why have him come in twice? I did forward you to the group the packet of information on this presentation, and it's something that Eric will discuss. I know there's huge demand for pickleball, and I do play pickleball, for full disclosure. I know there's a huge demand for basketball out there. Those courts are always full during the summertime, and Eric will go over that at March 17th with the joint meeting there. So we're going to skip that for the night. Next one on the agenda is, and if, again, people who have called in, if anyone has a comment, please unmute and ask, and I'm happy to address your comment. Next on the agenda is CPC articles. And a little history I did last week on CPC articles was, this is a group in town, or a committee in town, not a group, but a committee, CPC, headed up by Dave Nixon, who meet by taking applications for folks seeking funds for different projects. The CPC does a wonderful job of vetting these applications, asking them, repeating meetings, and I've attended many of those meetings. I've heard a lot of comment from the applications people. And then they pass the applications through legal to get a legal opinion on them, because some of them, we'll discuss some of them tonight, some of them aren't directly related to in town. But they've all been vetted by town council, John Giorgio of KP Law, and they've all passed as far as being legal. By and large, CPC has voted all of them to be attending on the warrant. They are on the warrant. And we'll start off, if anyone has any further, and then a week ago we had two of them come in. Eileen Chauvin, did you get it right? Shovlin, excuse me. I'm sorry, Eileen, if you're watching, Shovlin, and to speak about her project in conjunction with Mike Locke from the Harwich Conservation Trust for a project called Spruce Woods. They're at the end. So they came in and spoke to us, and Mike Locke spoke about his project. So we can go down through the list here, and what I'd like to do is I'll read what has been submitted for that will appear on the warrant. And is it in the warrant? Is the warrant have the dollar amounts
Yes,
listed?
they do. for
Last
CPC.
night they did?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I'll read right from the warrant, because this is what's going to appear in the warrant that was approved. There's a multi-step process here for this. The CPC has to get the applications and vet them, and then they approve them. Then, well, actually, I take that back. And then they're submitted to the selectmen to be placed on the warrant. The CPC, the only ones, if the CPC decides to put them on the warrant, they have to be on the warrant. The selectmen, from my understanding, have to approve them to be on the warrant, because they're correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Which they did last night.
Yeah. CPC articles have to approve on the warrant. Even though it's the selectmen's warrant in general, the selectmen be deciding what goes on the warrant and what doesn't go on the warrant. They must go on the warrant. I just want to make sure I don't, and anything, Dan was a former member of the CPC. If I misspoke, please let me know. So these warrants, but the selectmen did approve them to be on the warrant. And we'll go down those warrants one by one. And then we'll discuss, and then we'll make a motion to approve them. And then move down through, because my idea and hope is to go down through these warrants as much, and we'll circle back to the warrants in general later on and go down and see if there's any more we can vote on. We've only got about 2 weeks and 2 days left to vote on all the warrants, all the CPC articles, and all the various budgets, the town operating budget, the town wastewater budget, the town sewers, water budget, the 2 schools, a lot to discuss and a lot to vote on. So the first one on the CPC articles is a project, I'll read the warrant, that's probably the best thing to do. And there is no number, but it appears in the warrant. to see if the town will vote to appropriate from Community Preservation Act funds $221,525 from FY 2021 certified undesignated fund balance to fund the payment of land bank debt service. To act fully thereon is being requested by the Community Preservation Committee. Estimated cost $221,525. And to like to entertain a motion to discuss?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we discuss the first article to see if the town will approve, or the town will vote to appropriate $221,525 from the undesignated fund balance for their land debt service.
Thank you. Second?
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? What this is, it's, I believe it's the last payment to the land bank debt service. These were funds that were being appropriated to pay off land purchases over the time within town. Again, all these articles have been approved by CPC. And majority of them have been approved by majority vote. Let me see if I've got the tally sheet on, there was one article that was not approved by majority. Okay, here we go. I actually have a tally sheet. I attended the CPC meeting, and I can tell you how they voted numerically, how they voted. They voted on this article 7-0. Hearing no more discussion, I'd like to take a roll call vote for approval. Dale?
I approve.
Mark?
I approve.
Karen?
Approve?
Angelo? Dan?
I abstain.
And Mark abstained. Mark's wife is on the CPC committee. For the record, good one, Mark. I knew she was. I didn't. Thank you for mentioning that. And I vote for it too. So 6-1. One exemption. Moving on to the second one, Community Preservation Act, administrative expenses. This is an article that we discussed briefly in our last meeting, and I have got clarification from the CPC on what this article is about, so I can speak to that at the appropriate time. I'll read the article. To see if the town will vote to appropriate from Community Preservation Act funds $60,000 from the fiscal year 2021 certified undesignated fund balance to fund the Community Preservation's administrative expenses for fiscal year 2023 and to act fully thereon by request of the Conservation Preservation Committee, estimated $60,000. I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'd like to move that we review and approve the article to see if the town will vote to appropriate $60,000 from undesignated funds for administrative expenses.
Second?
Seconded.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussions? I'll read the letter that Jan Moore sent me. Jan Moore is the administrative assistant to the chair of the CPC, Dave Nixon. Because I asked Dave, because one of our members at the last meeting asked for clarification on what this $60,000 was for. I'll read it. It's a short letter. I'll read it. As of February 3rd, 2022, Community Preservation meeting, a motion was passed for funding Community Preservation Community Administrative Expenses, awaiting, in quotes, awaiting town approval at the annual town meeting. I believe that there is a state statute of Community Preservation Act that limits where administration's account monies can be spent. The funds cannot be spent indiscriminately. The monies in the CPC administration account have been set for the following expenses: payroll for the board secretary, in quotations, in parentheses, approximately $1,300 annually. 2, REOS, request for surveying land that can be purchased with CPA funds. I'm guessing REOS stands for Real Estate and Open Space. Elaine
Yes.
Shoveling. I'm sorry, Elaine, again, if you're
You're getting
listening.
closer.
I'm getting closer for surveying of the lands, and we'll talk about that later on. Legal fees incurred incurred by the Committee for Legal Reviews and Inquiries. Any unspent money in this account will remain just as an open balance until needed. There is no need to spend the money annually. So that's where the $60,000 for that fund comes from. Any other discussions on this particular one? I'd like to entertain vote, roll call vote. Dale?
I approve.
I approve.
Mark? Karen? Angelo? Dan? And Mark?
Abstain.
Oh, okay, again, all of them, huh? Okay, good, thank you. I keep forgetting that too, gee. Next one is Community Preservations Act, East Harwich Union Cemetery Gravestone Preservation Project. And I want to make sure that on the undesignated fund, the one we just voted on, that was 7-0 by the Community Preservation Committee. To see if the town will vote to appropriate from Community Preservations Act funds $118,800 from fiscal year 2021 Certified Historical Preservation Reserve to fund the town of Harwich's East Harwich Union Cemetery Gravestone Preservation Project. Any funds left unspent from this article are to be returned to the Community Preservation Act Funds Historical Preservation Reserve and to act fully thereupon. By request of the Community Preservation Commission, estimated cost $118,800. I'd like to entertain a motion.
I move that we review and approve the request to move $118,800 to the cemetery gravestone preservation project.
Okay,
Seconded.
second. Been moved and seconded. This project is, I think, Robin Kelly, who's our cemetery commissioner, has these articles almost on an annual basis to restore the many cemetery gravestones. In the town of this size, I believe the cemetery, we have 9 cemeteries in this town spread around. And Robin mentioned the other night, it's the second largest cemetery on Cape Cod. 98 acres, I may be mistaken, but Barnstable is only the second one, and I forget how many acres they had, 195 maybe. So that's a tremendous amount of cemetery, and 9 cemeteries. And of course, you know, a lot of the gravestones are very, very old. Revolutionary War, Civil War. They're living by the sea, they crumble, they fall apart. And Robin has taken upon it herself to restore a lot of these gravestones. And I have visited these gravestones with Robin in the parks, in the cemeteries, and she does a tremendous job. This particular cemetery is located in East Harwich, at the Methodist Church. It's near the corner store area for those folks who don't know quite where that is. And last year it was on our agenda, but there was some discrepancy as whether who owned the land, so it was postponed, and it's reappeared. And again, it's been vetted, approved by legal, and this one was approved 7-0 by the committee, CPC committee. Any other discussions or questions? Dale?
I approve.
Okay. Mark?
Seconded.
Karen?
Approve.
Angela? Dan?
Approve.
And Mark abstains.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Next one on the list is the part-time housing coordinator. And this one, I'm not quite. Why don't we vote it? The reason I'm hesitating on this one a little bit because the town is also applying, the town administrator is applying for a full-time housing advocate further up in the operating budget. This is a brand-new position, and all brand-new positions by town charter have to be on the town warrant. And we'll talk about that later. But there's nothing that says we can approve this one, and the selectmen may pull it for some reason too later on. So we can vote on it, and then we could always reconsider our vote. But at least we voted on it and it's out of the way. I don't see any issues on doing it that way. This is Community Preservation Act for a part-time housing coordinator. To see if the town will approve and vote, appropriate from Community Preservation Act funds $50,000 from FY21 Certified Community Housing Reserve to fund the town of Harwich's part-time housing coordinator position. Any funds left unspent from this article are to be returned to the Community Preservation Act Fund, Community Housing Reserve, and to act fully thereupon by request of the Preservation Commission, estimated cost $50,000. This is it has been an annual warrant article on a part-time basis, but the town is seeking a full-time one, so, any other questions on this article? Dale, how would you vote?
Oh, I don't think, they didn't make a motion.
Oh, you didn't make a
to
motion
review
yet?
and
Oh, I'm
approve
sorry.
it. No,
Okay. I
but
thought you did.
I do have questions.
Okay, good. I'm sorry, I thought we made a motion.
I move that we review and vote to approve allocation of $50,000 for the town of Harwich's part-time housing coordinator position.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. I jumped the gun on the discussion there. Having discussion, Dan, you have a question?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I'm not clear, the relationship between the town of Harwich's housing coordinator and the CPC. Do we understand what this role is?
Oh, well, it's been a part-time role. This is, again, to my best recollection, if anyone has any other, Dan, if you have any other things. It's been a part-time one, shared with, I think Brewster, maybe Orleans, and maybe a fourth town on a part-time basis, to advocate for affordable housing in the town. And it's been an annual expense, but now there is administration that feels, and the selectmen, I imagine, feel the need for a full-time advocate for this position on a full-time basis.
I think it's a good thing. I mean, it sounds like an important role, but I'm struggling with the connection between community preservation.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I can explain that too. In the Community Preservation Act, which is the CPA, which is the state statute, I explained this, you were out that. There's funding mechanisms. There's 4 buckets, one could argue 5 buckets. The money comes from CPC funds at a 3% of your tax rate, of your annual tax bill, 3% on top of your annual tax rate, another 3% is assessed for community preservation. That goes over to this committee, and it goes into 4 buckets. Those buckets is, one of the buckets is affordable housing. The other bucket is historical preservation. And the other one is land or real estate purchases. And then the 4th bucket is administration or undesignated funds.
Yeah,
Which-
recreation.
But what that makes, it's part of the 4th bucket.
Right?
The
That-
fourth one.
Yeah, that's part of the 4th bucket, though. It's not a standalone bucket like the other 3 ones. It's part of undesignated funds and administration.
Recreation
Yeah.
has its own bucket.
I don't think they do, but, I mean, they administer out of it,
That's in the act.
yeah.
But affordable housing is.
Yeah, it's a separate bucket, yeah.
Recognized.
And each of those 3 buckets, the historical, the real estate, and the affordable housing, each get 10% of whatever is allocated that year put into that bucket that must be spent for that bucket only. The other 70,000 goes into this undesignated fund bucket, of which I think real estate falls under, real estate recreation. And then out of that, administrative gets used, and I'm confused too, whether there's 4 or 5 buckets, because there is an administrative.
4 buckets according to the law. And then the law authorizes funds to be spent on administration.
On what?
On administration.
Right, because that's why they specify administration a
Okay,
lot.
So you answered my question.
Yeah, yeah. I had always struggled with that too, Dan, but recreation is definitely represented, but that 4th bucket is 70%, and it's undesignated. That's why it can be designated to some of these other funds that may not have enough funds allocated in their bucket to begin with. Did I answer that question?
Perfectly,
I have
thank
a
you.
question.
Sure, go ahead.
Follow up to that, actually. So, for what reason would there also be a placeholder warrant for the full-time housing advocate? So, why is
Yep,
there, why are there 2 different ones for the
Yep.
same position on the same list?
Good question. Dan, you wanna, I can explain it, but go ahead.
This particular article, $50,000, this has been a warrant article for when the housing trust was first established. So this might be the 4th year, 5th year, so it's been a traditional one, just like the land bank. And now, the administration is coming forth with a full-time position. So I'm not clear on how they're gonna reconcile that out.
What-
but,
What will happen, and I'm not 100% sure either, because it is a standalone article for the house, we'll see it later on, for the housing advocate that
Full-time.
appears before. And if it's approved or disapproved, this one would then, if it's disapproved, this is like a fallback for
Right.
that. If it's approved, then someone, whoever is advocating for this, CPC or something, will make a motion to withdraw the article, or something to that effect. It won't be funded twice, I can guarantee you
No,
that.
I understand that.
I think one is to get them until they hire the full-time person.
I
That's,
think that's how it started out.
that's how it started out, but the town is not being asked to fund both of these, though. They're just asking to be
No,
funded.
right.
Yeah.
And the first one is, because depending on where they position it, and I think it's positioned first before
Yes, it
this
is.
one.
Yep.
So, so
It is
if that's
right now.
approved, I'm thinking that this one will be,
Yeah, I'm thinking
Withdrawn.
that they
Yeah.
probably are proposing the full-time position in the budget. If that falls through, then they still have
Right.
money to continue funding.
correct, yeah.
Plan B.
Plan B, right. Angela?
I think you should check with the selectmen to make sure that they don't want 1.5 people working on the
No,
situation.
last night it was discussed in the warrant discussion, this was discussed.
Yeah, I don't
and-
think
They approved both of them to be put on the warrant last night. Again, CPC warrant has to go on. The selectmen,
no, I understand that,
Okay.
and I understand they want to have one of them, but I don't want to get us in a position where we end up with 1.5 people.
yeah, I don't think that would happen, but, and if, we can always reconsider again. Karen, you were at the warrant meeting, right?
Yeah, I believe it's just gonna be one or the other. We
Yeah.
can not vote on that one tonight and just hold off until we have confirmation on the other. But the other one is, in my mind, that one will come first, and we don't have the details on that yet in terms of the cost or any of
Right.
that, or the funding source. So
Mhm.
we might wanna wait.
If that's what the board so desires, it's, either way, if we vote for it, we can always reconsider the vote and withdraw our recommendation, right, Angela? Is that how it works? Yeah.
I thought there was funding in the administrative budget, Joe Powers' department, already included in the budget.
It is, it's
Yeah.
included in his budget, but it has to
Yeah.
it's a separate warrant article.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that when we go through all the rest of the warrant articles to see which ones we can vote. If people want to hold off, I'm happy to hold off. Why don't we vote on it? If you want to hold off to say no, and we'll vote to reconsider. Or we can not vote at all and just move on.
Can we vote to postpone pending further
Oh,
information?
sure, yeah, I mean, we just don't take a vote on it.
Yeah, I think we wait.
Okay, fine, I have no problem with that. Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Can that be an either or? In other words, can you vote against the one position? I remember the selectmen want a full-time position, but can you vote for that half-time position?
I think how you can vote against it, at the town meeting can vote against it,
Okay.
is when that full-time position comes up, the town meeting says no. And then the fallback now comes down to this one.
Comes back to the half-time.
So that's where, and
Right.
I'm thinking that if the housing advocate is voted in, then this one would become mute at that point. So I don't think there's a chance that both of them are gonna be
Oh,
voted
no,
in.
no.
So. But we can, why don't we wait? There seems to be some thoughts and questions on it, and we can just wait on it.
Do we vote to postpone or just pass?
I imagine. Angela, what's your recommendation?
I don't know.
Pardon?
I can't tell you, I don't know.
I think last year we had a couple of items that we wanted to postpone pending further information.
Yeah,
We
it's
voted to-
called no recommendation pending, I'm writing the acronym, further information.
I think you're right.
NRPFI, and that shows up in the warrant, meaning no recommendations pending further information. Okay, the motion's been seconded, and I made a motion, made and seconded to vote on it. so I think we need to readjust the motion.
I'd like to move that we vote on postponing the approval of this article pending further information.
Seconded.
Second, okay. Motion's been made and seconded to make no recommendation pending further information at this time. Any discussion? Dale?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Angelo?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. Good, and the selectmen will be going back to these warrants, and we'll get more clarification on that. Thank you. Anyone on the line have to speak? Please unmute and make yourself known, please. Thank you. Next one is the Community Preservation Act, Phase 2 of the Heritage Trail Boardwalk Project. This
You
is where,
skipped one, John.
Did I?
Affordable Housing Trust.
Half a million.
oh, that's a big one, too. And affordable, okay, there we go, excuse me. Thank you, Karen. I saw community preservation.
They're on
I
a-
saw trust, and I thought we were still talking housing. You're right. Community Preservation Act Affordable Trust, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $31,270.93 from FY '23 certified community housing reserves, $210,000 from FY '23 anticipated reserves, and $258,720
Sorry, John, anticipated revenues.
anticipated revenues, and $258,729.07 from fiscal year 2021 certified undesignated balances, for a total appropriation of $500,000 to the fund of Harwich Affordable Housing Trust, and to act fully thereon by requesting of the Community Preservation Commission estimated cost $500,000. Make a motion for,
I move that we discuss and approve the article to move $500,000 from the Community Housing Fund account to the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust.
Seconded.
any discussion?
I kind of remember this from last year coming up, that they wanted to put money into this trust for what purposes?
It's for housing, to build
So-
housing for either to build it or acquire land for housing, and they need a balance or a fund to do that.
Yeah,
So if a piece of property comes up for sale for $1 million, I don't know how much is in their balance, but if it comes up for $1
they
million,
need it available
they'll
at
have it,
that
yeah,
time.
correct, to purchase
Okay,
it.
got it.
Or if they move ahead on some building projects that they already have land for, it's to build the buildings. So it's to build up a reserve, I guess, in the trust fund.
Okay.
Any other questions? Let's do a roll call vote for, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Angela?
Aye.
Dan? And I'm an aye, one abstention. Okay, Community Preservation Act, Phase 2 of the Natural Heritage Trail Boardwalk Project. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $75,000 from fiscal 2021 certified undesignated fund balance to fund Phase 2 of the Natural Heritage Trail Boardwalk Project. Any funds left unspent from this article are to be returned to the Community Preservation Act Fund, undesignated fund balance, and to act fully thereupon by requesting of the Community Preservation Committee estimated cost $75,000. I'd like to entertain a motion.
I move that we discuss and approve the movement of $75,000 from the undesignated fund account for Phase 2 of the Natural Heritage Trail Boardwalk project.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I just have a brief question.
Yep.
Do you know if that Phase 2 is the final phase?
I don't know if it's the final phase. It is Phase 2 of one phase that was approved last year.
Right.
I'll give you a little history, Karen and Dale, and for folks that weren't here for the presentation by Mike, and for folks on the audience that might, or listen in later, that might want to know what this is about. This is at the Bank Street Bogs, off of Bank Street. I believe it's the Ralph Smith Preserve.
Ralph or Roger Smith?
I'm sorry, the first.
He
It's-
was.
Yes, he was one of
chair
the founders of the
Harwich
Conservation Trust, I
Yes.
believe. And
for
and
years.
it's 60 acres of abandoned cranberry bogs. this is actually almost like the second phase, a third phase, but the first phase, the town approved maybe 2-3 years ago, $2 million to reclaim and remediate the bogs back to its natural state. To do that, they voted at town meeting $2 million for the project. And by doing that, it's going to help remediate nitrogen from the water to save on sewage costs for a portion of the town there. And I believe, I'm not quoting me 100%, but it would save the town $5 or $6 million. By doing this $2 million project, they could restore lands back to its natural state and save money for the town's sewering projects. That was phase one, if you want to call it. Michael explained where that was the other night when he was here. It's at a 75% design completion phase. This project has taken a long time. There's over 8 agencies involved: federal, state, local, municipal. A lot of agencies involved designing this. They're at a 75% design phase. The selectmen just approved a couple nights ago the final 25% approval by CBM Smith to do the design at no charge. And they expect to go out to bid later this year or early part of next year, and then receive bids and then do the project.
So this is just 75,000 of the 2 million that was already approved?
No, yeah, well, this
At
is,
town million?
this
I
is
mean,
on
at
top
town
of the
meeting.
2 million.
Oh, in addition to?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can I point out something interesting about the financing?
Mhm.
The request is for 75,000. The design
Right, that's a
alone
good
is
point there.
40,000. The boardwalk itself will be 135, totaling 175,000 for this project. But $50,000 will come from Mass Trails grant, which is pending, and another 50,000 from a federal U.S. Fish and Wildlife grant, which has been approved.
And what this is, so you got the remediation of the Bank Street bogs is phase one. And then last year, the town approved $125,000 for phase one of a trail system that will be implemented once they do the reconstruction. And then this is for a boardwalk for phase two. So that's what this is.
All right. I'm still unclear where the $2 million is getting spent. Is that on the design and
That's the remediation of it. It was the Colebrook River ran through there in a natural state. When they put the bogs in about 100 years ago, they rerouted that river.
Mhm.
They're going to put that river back to its original route, and then excavate out 4 ponds for the area and return it back to its natural state.
Okay.
That's
Got it.
That's what the 2 million, and save on sewering for
Got it.
that
Thank you.
portion of the town.
That's helpful, thank you.
And the land is owned by the Harwich Conservation Trust.
Cool.
So it's a neat project. I happen to abut it, but in that those trails are used a lot, and it's a good, especially during the pandemic. A lot of people were back there.
Even
So,
Chloe's Path affects that. That's up at the headwaters of,
Grassy Pond.
Oh, wow.
yeah, so it goes all the way over to the police station almost.
Any other discussion points?
Interesting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Okay, thank you. Moving on. This is an interesting project here. It's a unique approach to a Cape-wide, nationwide issue. And again, anyone on the phone, dial in and please let us know. And I'm hoping I'm doing CPC articles right here. So, Community Preservation Act, Penrose LLC / Cape Cod 5 housing project. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $100,000 from FY21 certified undesignated fund balance to fund the Penrose LLC / Cape Cod 5 community housing project located in New Orleans, Mass. Any funds left unspent from this article are to be returned to the Community Preservation Act undesignated fund balance, subject to a grant agreement including an affordable housing restriction, and to act fully upon by the request of the Conservation Preservation Committee. Estimated cost $100,000. And Like to take a motion to approve of this?
Yep, I move that we review and approve the request to move $100,000 from the undesignated fund account to the Penrose LLC Cape Cod 5 housing project.
Seconded.
Second, okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? I can give a brief history on this. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a Cape-wide problem, nationwide problem of affordable housing. You know, this is one of these things that everybody wants, but it's hard to come up with an idea of how to do it. This is, I think, the first novel idea on the Cape of an idea to do something on a regional basis, where all the towns, or many towns, and I'll recite the towns that are contributing to this project, that there's 8 towns, and I'll read the amounts that each town is contributing to this project. It's a housing project in Orleans. The cost of the project, and I have spoken to the developer of this project, Rio Salucci, and he's offered to come in, and I told him I would let him know if the board wants him to come in, because we had some talk last time, maybe to get more information, but I think I have enough information, and he would be coming in from Boston via Zoom, but he would still had said that he would come in. But it's a regional approach to affordable housing. 8 towns are asked to contribute money to this project of a total cost of about $28 million, this project. I do not know how many, I forget the number of housing units are going to be made available. But the 8 towns have contributed is Orleans. They've contributed $2 million already. Eastham has committed $100,000. Chatham is being asked at their May 9th, 2022 meeting to contribute $100,000. Brewster at their May 16th, 2022 town meeting is asked to contribute $100,000. Wellfleet was asked to contribute, but they didn't have any money left in their CPC funds, and they've been asked to reapply next year. Truro has already approved $100,000. Provincetown has approved $20,000, and Harwich is being asked for $100,000. And of course, there's many grants in here, both federal, state, local grants being supplement this project. Cape Cod 5 is involved in some funding aspect of it. And it's a project for affordable housing. Some questions that were asked is, does Harwich get credit for this? You know, the state mandate of 10% for housing, affordable housing. Harwich does not get any credit for this at all towards our goal of 10% affordable housing. Next question is, would Harwich residents be able to apply for these housing units? The answer to that was no. How they're going to award them is a lottery system, first to the town residents of Orleans. If the lottery housing through the lottery wasn't filled, then it'll be somehow proportioned out to the other contributing towns. But that does not preclude an Orleans resident from being in Orleans, but working here in Harwich, at one of the many businesses in Harwich. I think it's a novel approach. I think it's one that may be more prevalent on the Cape. And nothing would preclude Harwich, once we do a project of a size that needs participation by other people, that Harwich would not go out and ask these other towns for it either.
And this is coming from CPC funds.
This is all coming from CPC funds, yeah. And again, this has been vetted. It was approved 7 to, let me just make sure. Yep, 7-0. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a novel approach. You know, every time I've talked about affordable housing with affordable housing officials, there's never a good answer as to how they're going to achieve this. Land costs are tremendously on Cape to buy the land, unless they get donated land. And even if they get donated land, the cost, just the pure cost of building these things is tremendous. So it's a challenge, a real challenge. That's why none have been really built here. So this is a big project, and I think it's worthwhile. Any questions?
I have a question, just for future reference.
Mhm.
Could you use the same reasoning for this article as, because it's got a regional application, is that the Fontaine Center is a regional medical center? people from Brewster, Orleans, Eastham may go there for the medical care, but Harwich transport, if they need to go to the hospital, Harwich pays to transport them to the hospital. I'm just wondering for future reference if that type of regional approach would also apply to those ambulance costs to the Cape Cod Hospital.
Good question, Mark, and the answer, I don't know the answer, you know, who will have the answer is the fire chief, and we're gonna meet him Thursday night. I think how it's done, like any ambulance calls, you know, they bill the insurance company. So if they pick up an Orleans resident from Fontaine, they will bill, again, ask the chief, but I'm thinking that they will bill that person for that thing. And then, and they get reimbursed that way. Now, the chief would be definitely, as far as reimbursement percentages, I do not know that. But I do know they have sizable reimbursements of over $1 million.
Oh, yeah, I've seen the Medicare reimbursement.
So that's the answer to that. A little bit, the side thing on that is a Fontaine-like entities being built in Orleans right now. So
okay.
that will probably take a burden off of this one too in the summertime. So that's the answer to that question. Any other questions, Angela?
Is anyone in this town working on starting one of these projects ourselves? And the town owns all sorts of land in which we could build
Yeah.
houses. And this would be a way of sharing the costs of building those houses and getting a basic part of the buildings, you know, part of the people buying buildings.
Yes.
So is anybody doing it?
I do not know. Best to my knowledge, there is no active Harwich Housing Trust project of this going on. There are other private developers trying to get, you know, projects passed, but as far as the trust taking on a project, I think they're, and I'm just speaking for myself and what I know, I think the first big one that they'd like to do is the Marcellini property. I hope I said that name right. I mean, he's been a very generous family, he's been a very generous Marcelline. I'm sorry. Last names weren't big with me, but anyway, it's a piece of property, 14 acres, beautiful piece of property, right by, you know, public transportation, the highway, up, everybody I think knows where it's at. Right off, you come off exit 10, it's right there in front of you. So I think this is their first big project, Angela, that they're gonna try to do something with this amounts that have been accumulated over the years. I don't know what's Thursday night, but Don Howell could definitely speak to more. He's on the trust, and Joe Powers could too. But I know of no active project right now.
I think they should start doing it.
I think there's a real need, especially on this Marceline property. I'm sorry, I hope there's no.
Difficult names.
Well, it's just, I have a trouble with name. Anyway, it's a beautiful piece of property. I've walked it. You couldn't ask for a better piece of property to do something like this. And it'll be a good project for the town. Any more discussion? I pertain for a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
And I vote aye on that too. Thank you. I will call Owen Sarducci and thank him for coming down. And he told me that Cape Cod 5 will be at town meeting, doing a presentation on the town meeting time on this project. So, moving on to Community Preservation Act Pickleball Project Park. And Angela. And this, I made a comment last night in the selectmen's meeting about this being labeled as a pickleball project. It is more than a pickleball project. It's also a pickleball project and basketball, like I mentioned earlier, project. And I'll speak to that in the discussion. And in the full disclosure, I do play pickleball, but it doesn't preclude me from voting on this article. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $50,997. How do they come up with these odd numbers? $97
It's a little bit here, a little bit there.
from, I guess, from fiscal 2021 certified undesignated fund balance and $194,503 from fiscal year 2023 anticipated revenue, for a total appropriation of $245,000 to fund the town of Harwich pickleball and basketball project at Brook Park. Any funds left unspent from this article are to be returned to the Community Preservation Act Fund, undesignated fund balance, and to act further thereupon by the request of the Preservation Committee. Estimated cost $245,000. And again, Eric Beebe is going to speak much more about this, but again, nothing would preclude us from voting on it tonight. Or we can just postpone this to a later time and vote on it after we hear Eric.
John, I read in their application that the bid didn't go to the lowest bidder. There was another bidder that bid $128,000 and change.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering what the deal was there.
I have no idea, other than I rely on CPC to vet these projects for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a good reason for
Yeah,
it. but
and
I'm
it went through legal both, I'm sure they picked up on that too and gave their opinion.
Yeah.
And they voted 7-0 on that, so.
Oh,
And I did attend this meeting on this, voting on these, and there was no mention of that at all. So it was maybe, I'm not diminishing it, Dan, but it was probably noticed in legal, I'm just going by legal approved all these, so. So we can vote on this, we can always vote to reconsider. My hope is to get through as many articles as we can, because we got a lot of stuff to go through, but I have no problem postponing this one like the housing.
I can vote on
Did you say Brooks
Brook
Yeah,
Park?
Brooks
Park?
Yeah,
So they're doing it there, they're not doing it in the community center?
no, this is Brook Park. And I can speak, again, I attended over 3 meetings of CPC on these articles. I can speak not as eloquently about it as Eric can, but
Should we move to
make a motion to approve?
I move that we review and approve the article to allocate $245,500 to the town of Harwich pickleball project at Brooks Park.
Seconded.
All those,
Do-
open for discussion, any more discussion?
I think that's fine, and it's a good thing to do, but I think we have another place where we can do the same things for the full year, rather than just for summertime. And somebody should be looking at, that other building.
Which building is that, Angela?
The middle school.
Currently.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I mean, spending that kind of money in there, and then you can probably generate it back much more quickly than you can, because it gets really wet out there in the winter and all.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I mean, as we spoke last night, that community center is a much more discussion thing. And but I see your point, Andrew. And to speak about this program at Brooks Park, from what I know, pickleball is I often get questioned on it. I think it's the name. It sounds funny, of course, but I do play. I play actively. My wife plays actively, and this is. And Eric will confirm this, but this is the most participated recreation program that the Harwich offers. Over 400 members in this, and most of them are senior citizens and very senior citizens. We have, I'm considered a youngster that play, and we have folks that are 95 years old that are playing this sport, 80 years old, 70 years old. It's a great social aspect. In the summertime, you cannot get a free court up at Brooks Park during the summertime. There's only presently 8 courts up there now. This is going to add 4 more courts. Again, 400 people. They just installed new lights up there, so those courts will be able to be lit at night for the first time. And then the basketball program, they're putting 2 new basketball courts, is very heavily participated by the youth of this town.
Now, has anybody figured out how much to charge the people?
That's
do
up to
this?
the rec committee.
Well,
But-
what I'm saying is, it's only halfway there.
Mhm.
We're coming out with money to spend,
Mhm.
without looking at what we can receive back.
Right.
And if you're
Yeah.
gonna put it out there and you think you could get it all back, or fine.
Yeah.
A bunch of it back. I don't wanna pay my taxes to have somebody play pickleball.
Okay,
I've no problem with getting them food or, you know, a place to live. But a game like that is a game.
It is.
And that's how we should spend our money. So we should know what it can do for us.
no, a very valid point, and that same theory can be applied to any recreation program. It could be applied to the golf course, could be applied to the marina.
It is applied to the golf course, and it is applied to the marina, both of which give the town a significant amount of money.
But I don't think they pay for their full costs, though, Angela.
Yes, they do.
And so anyway, I understand what you're saying, and all fees, I believe, should be looked at for that, not just singling out one sport, but,
And also, you can do it at the same time, add some more to the one in the building.
mhm. Yeah, no, I agree, yeah, and if there's no other discussion points, we can take a vote on it. All those in favor, say aye. Dale?
So I'm just wondering, you'd mentioned that there's a possible opportunity of having someone come in and give us some more
Sure,
information
yeah,
about
I
it.
mean, yeah.
How many courts?
There's 4 courts being added,
Okay.
2 basketball courts. And they're being added to meet the demand. I mean, I'm happy to bring someone in, but they're being added to meet the demand of the town citizens, the town citizens. And this article was passed 7-0 in the town. I'm happy to bring, Eric will be here Thursday night.
Because if that would increase our capacity by, I don't know, 100 people or whatever, each paying a certain amount of money, then we'd have a more complete picture of the fiscal responsibility of the request.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be self-sufficient to Andel's point at all, you know, but we can wait till Eric comes in. I mean,
Should we do an NRPFI?
yeah, yeah.
I'd like to move that we do it in a, what Karen said, on this
My
motion.
recommendation pending further information.
Right.
Thank you.
There go.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mark?
Oh, I'm sorry, aye.
Aye.
Angela? Yeah?
Abstain.
And I'm an aye also. And Eric will be happy to explain it. And I think you should. I mean, again, my objective today is try to get through them all, but I don't want to rush through anything, and Eric can fully explain it. And please address to Eric the other recreation programs too.
If you go to the Community Preservation Committee website, all the applications are on there.
Oh, yeah.
So it gives a detailed
That's right.
explanation.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my bad, I should have read that.
Well, I attached Eric's proposal to the meeting agenda tonight.
Did you?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's in there, yeah.
Yeah.
I try to attach as much information to anything we're speaking about in
Oh, there it is.
the agenda. And it's a full packet of information. But again, Eric will be here Thursday night, happy to have him explain this. So, okay, next one is Spruce Woods project. See if the town will vote to appropriate $604,486 from fiscal 2021 certified open space reserves, $210,000 from fiscal 2023 anticipated revenues, and $135,514 from FY 2021 certified undesignated fund balance, for a total appropriation of $950,000 to fund the town of Harwich / Real Estate and Open Space Committee's application to purchase a conservation restriction at the Spruce Woods project. Any funds left unspent from this article are to be returned to the Community Preservations Act Fund, Open Space Reserves, and to act fully thereupon by request of the Community Preservation Committee and Open Space Committee. Estimated costs $950,000. I can get into, again, the Real Estate and Open Space Committee chairperson, Ellen Shovlin, came in, and in conjunction with Mike Locke on this one. This is kind of a joint venture between the two, an integral arrangement. But they gave a very detailed presentation to the members present that night. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this article.
I move that we review and approve the article to allocate $950,000 to to purchase a conservation restriction at the Spruce Woods project.
Seconded.
Second, okay. It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? I guess more for Karen and Dale. I mean, you weren't here
I
for that.
was there
Oh,
for,
you weren't that one?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
good.
it was very
Beautiful.
good.
Who missed that one? Okay.
I think you might not have been there.
Karen. Okay, it was a very detailed presentation, and it's for, I'll give you a brief synopsis. It's 75 acres out near the Hawks Nest area
Yep.
in East Harwich. And it's a total, it's just kind of like Dale pointed out, for that project. This is only a portion of the money being raised for the project. The total purchase price, what was it, 3 million something? The total purchase price was like $3 million.
Significant, yeah.
This is a portion of it. The other remaining funds are gonna be raised by the Harwich Conservation Trust independently of the town. And there is some provisions in there if they hit certain milestones, that some monies will be returned to, possibly some monies will be returned back to the town.
That's right, they're looking for private donations and all other kinds of.
But this
fundraisers.
is just to get them started, to secure the obligation to buy it, and then they have like a year maybe.
Yeah, there's a limited amount of
Yeah,
time.
to purchase it. If the deal falls through, the CPC gets the money back.
Harwich Conservation Trust has benefactors with some very deep pockets.
Yes. And they always seem to raise the amount of money, no matter how much they need.
Yeah.
It's good.
So several of these say some portion of the funds, a large portion of the funds will come from anticipated revenues. So which line item of revenues, or where do you see that? Like there's a couple hundred here, a couple, like it really adds up if you look at each of these warrants?
Well, you talked about this specific article,
This
right?
one, this is one of a few of them within this bucket that we've been discussing. So, like this one says,
Which article is that?
this Spruce Woods one
Okay, yeah.
says 210,000 from the FY 2023 anticipated revenues.
Yep.
The one above it says 194,503 from FY 23 anticipated revenues.
Yeah, I think it goes back to those four buckets again. You know,
Okay.
there's the three primary buckets of historical preservation,
Yeah.
affordable housing, and real estate purchases. The fourth bucket of 70% is undesignated or recreation. And they have to spend money in those three buckets, 10%, but if that bucket is empty, then they can take money out of the undesignated fund and apply it to real estate, affordable housing,
But where do the revenues come to fund all?
the CPC fund, that 3% surcharge on your property
Ah,
tax.
okay.
Rather than, they're trying to
All right,
piece
I'm
together.
I'm fine, I had to
a
just
little
connect the
here and
dots.
Yeah.
I'm feeling better, okay.
It's a 3%, that's the maximum allowed by CPC. The state contributes. They started off at a 3% dollar for dollar, but then they dropped down, and I think, if I misspeak, it's only from what I can recollect, I think they're up to about a third of that, so. But it's a good, I had
You-
the numbers of what
But it does say like.
they had.
But it's anticipated revenues from the CPC,
Yeah, well, they
which
can
comes from
apply
that 3%.
anticipated revenues,
Yeah.
because they know how much they're gonna get from the town's 3%.
Right,
They do not know from the state, because that can go either way.
sure.
So they know they're gonna get 3% of the tax levy, and that goes
Which is
into these
significant.
buckets.
So that's, okay, got
That's
it.
the revenues.
So
Yeah.
that doesn't come out of the general budget?
No, it comes out of, well, it doesn't, but it comes from the taxpayers.
Yeah, directly to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another 3%, and you see it in your upper right-hand corner of your
Yeah.
tax bill.
It's just, there's so many different
Yeah.
rules across all these departments, so
And it
thank
is,
you for
it's,
clarifying.
I read the CPA Act a few times, because I was very
I've read
confused
it and it just,
on these
I think I have to
buckets
read
of-
it a few more times. Yeah.
So, that's where, but ask the questions, please, Karen, and no question is a silly question, and that's how you learn.
Well, I haven't finished yet, John, so.
That's okay, that's
Silly
okay.
ones are coming.
No, we all start off new,
Here's
and,
a silly question, Can we get out of here before
uh,
midnight?
no, it's a good thing, 'cause not only that, but obviously people do watch our meetings, so, it's an education for the public out there too, to understand that, because it's important to the public, and I wish there was people in the audience here that we could address, and if there's anyone on the call, please speak up, I'm happy to answer it.
It
We've got-
always intrigued me, coming from New York, that in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you could actually commit future revenues to a project. And no way you do that in New York.
Yeah,
Like the 23, they're
Anticipated revenues.
getting- Right, anticipated revenue.
I think I kinda get it from a tax-based perspective, but from a different revenue source would be a lot less
And I can,
certain.
yeah, I can see maybe here, but it's anticipated, it's pretty darn sure that you're gonna get this 3%. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I mean,
it-
that's.
it's not like you're
Feel
hoping,
more confident about that than
Yeah.
you do of pickleball dollars or whatever.
yeah.
You know what I mean, like that kind of stuff. Okay.
No,
But-
I mean, in New York, you couldn't encumber the monies
Right.
unless you had it.
Right, exactly. But here, it's, unless people don't pay their property taxes.
Yeah,
But
another topic.
I think 96% of the people do pay their taxes in
Yeah.
Howardsport, maybe more, I don't know, but close to that. So,
Okay, with the question.
entertain a vote for this motion?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
And I'm an aye too. It's a great project. If people haven't walked out in this Hawks Nest area, it's a beautiful 2 or 3 ponds out there. It's a little piece of wilderness out
It
there.
is nice up
It's a
there.
beautiful area, and this is to save, that's another key point to this. I think Mike Locke mentioned that this saves 12 houses being built there.
18, actually.
Was it 18? Okay.
It's 18 lots.
18 houses, and of course, I'm guessing these houses would be bigger homes, let's say. From a finance perspective, one could look at that as 18 homes of generating taxable
Taxes.
income. But I also see the benefit of open space, you know, but, so, and water quality. I mean, these are right in, I believe there's a watershed well there, or near, I mean, there's ponds there, so it's a good thing. Anyone out in the audience again? Please free to speak up. So that concludes the two, the CPC articles, the two housing and recreation. Eric will come in Thursday, and we can ask him, and he can say pretty much more eloquently about any questions that
Yeah,
people.
I found the administration one.
Oh, excuse me, you're right, you didn't.
There's
It-
3
yeah.
that we could potentially talk to,
To-
also vote on 3 more warrants.
But,
That's
yeah,
a separate
no, but
agenda.
but to Dan's point, I'm sorry, Dan, I was looking off the warrant, and last night, I made a comment to the warrant that was presented last night, that the pickleball courts is not more than pickleball courts, it's basketball courts for the youth of this town and the seniors of this town. But it didn't spell out basketball courts in the warrant. That has since been corrected. The warrant will be reflecting that.
Okay, so
But
that
the
has been
warrant doesn't
confirmed.
But-
reflect the 12,500 administrative.
No, but that, I'm gonna speak to that right now. In the warrant that was presented to us last night, the last remaining CPC article that, at the bottom, if you go, the ones I sent out to the members here, because that's what I was acting upon when I sent them out, was the articles that was approved by CPC. I did speak to that, and there's still a little bit of a question, but it looks like that fund, that 12,000 may be part of that 60,000 further up in the article.
The administrator?
Yeah, but it says Spruce Woods, you're right, Dale. But the explanation I got from Jan Moore, it says,
Administrative expenses on the 3rd line.
the second, from CPC, it says, real estate and open space requests for surveying of land that will be purchased with CPA funds. So we're gonna hold on that one, is the bottom line, until we get definite clarification of, is this an additional 12,500, or is it absorbed within the 60,000? Thanks for.
Sorry, John, I
pointing it.
gotta ask, where is that 12,500 highlighted, or it's not?
It's in the attachments that I sent as
Oh,
part of
okay.
our meeting.
Yeah,
There's an attachment there for CPC funds
okay,
that was approved by CPC. I attached that. But in the warrant last night, it doesn't
Missing.
mention that.
Yeah, it's
And
missing.
I was going after off the warrants in our
Yeah.
discussion here, but thanks for, did you mention that?
Karen did.
Okay, thanks for, or someone mentioned the 12,500. So that's, so we'll vote on that later.
Okay.
Or once we figure out if it belongs there or not belongs there.
Yeah.
I mean, CPC did approve it, but when I spoke to them earlier, there was, they're gonna discuss it and see, they think it might be in the 60,000. So. Because I was just concerned that CPC had approved it, but it wasn't on the warrant, and I wanted to make sure it was on the warrant, so. Okay. Let me just make a note. So there's 3 articles that two we need. One will get addressed on Thursday night. I'm sure the other one will get addressed, and we might even have a chance to speak about it tomorrow night on the housing advocate piece there. We'll talk about that later on.
a Thursday.
Thursday, yeah. There are a couple other things Thursday besides department heads. So that concludes the CPC ones. Now, I'd like to, some of us stayed later for the warrants last night, and we went down through them. And I'm just gonna, there was a lot of, it's a draft form still. And a lot of the town administrator was trying to get approval from the selectmen. It's the selectmen's warrant. They can add or delete majority of the articles at their discretion. The ones they cannot add or delete are the CPC articles and the private petitions. So last night, the town administrator went through with the selectmen's on what they wanted to do for articles, and whether to place them on the warrant or not. Some of them, we can run down them, and we'll run down them, and it's that they're on the warrant, but there's some of them don't have monies attached to them or no description yet, so they're very vague. But and Karen, correct me because you were there also, and Mark, the town officers and committees, they did make a positive motion to put it on the warrant.
Yes.
Reports of town officers and committees, that was a positive motion, it's gonna be on the warrant. Elected official salaries, that's a positive motion, to be on the warrant. Operating budget will be a positive motion on the warrant. Monomoy Regional School District budget, this was a positive motion, it will be on the warrant. And in the department head meetings on Thursday, the selectmen's meeting, I think I sent it out to folks late today. Again, when I get these things, I get them late in the afternoon, and I send them out as pretty much as soon as I get them. There was a schedule of department heads, but there was also 2 line items that the selectmen put on their budget to possibly discuss and vote on the Monomoy school budget and the regional tech budget. We can vote on the regional tech budget tonight. In fact, when we get to that one, I can have a positive, if one wants to make a positive motion, we can vote on it. So the Monomoy School Regional regional budget will be on as a positive motion by the selectmen. The Cape Cod Regional Technical School budget is going to be on the warrant with a motion to put it on the warrant. But we can also vote this budget right now if we care to. The tech school did come in last Thursday, the 10th, and presented their budget. It was all, I think, favorably reviewed positively by the selectmen and us. And I can read the article.
Can I make a comment though? Because last night, the Board of Selectmen also did a second round of voting to accept and adopt
Right.
the warrant. And to me, they intentionally skipped anything that didn't have dollars in it? And while I know we've been through all the budgets
Yeah.
and stuff, shouldn't we wait until they?
This will have dollars. I'm gonna put a dollar amount into it. The selectmen have a dollar amount in their agenda tomorrow night.
Okay, so we don't have to wait for them
No,
to
no,
accept?
I
it-
asked,
Accept and adopt, okay.
I asked the town administrator if we could vote on these.
Oh,
And
all right.
again, we can always reconsider, but
Perfect.
right, it's in their article for Thursday night. If you look at what I sent
Yeah,
out today,
sure.
it's in their
Yeah.
article. And there was, the folks that were in the discussion last Thursday, there wasn't any real contention of asking them to cut anything. I never heard cut once.
Yeah.
And we can talk about why there's a big uptick in the number. So I'd like to entertain a positive motion to approve this article. This is, if you want to read the whole, that's the dollar amount, Dale.
Oh, the Cape Cod tax?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to, I move that we review and vote on the article to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and transfer funds for Cape Cod Regional Tech High School in the amount of $2,079,314.
Seconded.
Seconded? Okay, it's been, all those in favor? Open for discussion, excuse me.
Would you mind telling me the number again? I'm just capturing.
$2,079,314. And what this represents, it's like, it's a regional technical school, for those out in the audience that may not know, or for further clarification for some folks that weren't in attendance last Thursday. It's a regional school. I believe it's made up of 6 towns, 7 towns. Our budget went up this year. Let me get the exact amount for you. Here we go. This budget went up $543,005 over last year. That's a 35% increase. But that was easily explained because it's based on enrollment at this school. It's like the old funding formula for the regional between Chatham and Harwich. It's how many students you go, divided by the cost of operating the building and capital on the building, and you come up with a number.
Here's the enrollment here.
Right there.
If I may.
Yeah, and that, the operating budget for the tech school it's how they got to $2,079,000, this is how they got to it. Was $1,011,446, and the capital portion was $447,019, oh, excuse me, $661, $661,216, $2,079,314. That's how they got to that number. And it's based purely on the enrollment of 20 students, which is, I think, a positive sign that students are, the youth is going back into the trades. They realize that it's a valuable skill set to have. I did ask Bob Sanford, who was the superintendent that gave the presentation, of how many people stayed on the Cape. And I believe his number, if anyone who was there, that 85%, yeah. The students stay on the Cape, feeding, the plumbers, the electricians, the auto mechanics, the dentalists, the culinary thing. And they have a cafeteria over there, a cafe, and it's open to the general public on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's worth $2 million. Dan?
I was just gonna say that if you've never done a walkthrough through the new facility, if you have the time, I would say go
It is
check it
beautiful.
out.
Yeah, a year ago, we were lucky to squeeze in there before pre-pandemic or whatever. We got in there, and we saw it, a group of us.
I saw some of it, I haven't seen all of it, but
Oh,
it
it's
is
fanta- I
impressive.
mean,
Oh, it's up
Yeah, it's
Fantastic
impressive.
school. It's unbelievable.
And if you read through the budget, it's a very responsible budget. I think he's done a good job keeping
Oh.
costs as low as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason,
I would
the
agree.
reason it's more money for us this year is because of the student population.
And it's a good budget. It's easy to understand. And
I would think that was the best budget presentation that we had for all of it.
Yeah.
We should send one of those books to each of the department heads,
right.
including the town administrator,
Yep.
and use that as a format.
No, it does. And they have a graphic arts program at the tech school too. So with very high-speed printers over there. And they've been a wonderful people to deal with, from Bob Sanford. I dealt mostly with Erin Okart, the business manager, and she's always answered my questions and information in very simple, easy-to-understand terms. Any further discussion? Like to take a vote on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
And I'm an aye too. Great. Thank you. That knocks off one budget. And again, if something changes via the selectmen want to do something, we're happy to reconsider on this one. Water Department, that's been motion to put on the water and wastewater. Dan Pelletier, he gave a little bit of what he talked doing last night. He is going to be at the Thursday night's meeting. Any questions and all questions on these, please ask him. The big one, if you looked at your budget, the wastewater is up over 300 and something percent, 380%, I believe, and that's all due to the debt that's being transferred over to them. The good news there is sewage, or wastewater, I guess, has started to flow to Chatham. And so the system is starting to get used. The downside of that, or just a part of our agreement with Chatham, is that once wastewater starts flowing, we're on responsible for 23% of the operating costs of the treatment plant in Chatham. Whether we send 1 gallon or 300,000 gallons, we have to pay our percentage of the operating costs. And there's sliding scales for different things, but Dan will be more than happy to tell you that tomorrow night. And so that's the wastewater. And most of all their expenses are paid out of return earnings too, for the most part.
Mark just pointed out to me that the warrant articles, they don't contain any dollar amounts, like the Cape Cod Regional Technical, which we just approved. There's no dollar amount in there.
That's why I inserted it.
Oh, it's an insert?
I put 2 million. Dale read that into the
Oh,
motion.
you read that in?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
2,079,300 foot, that's what I was talking about too, unless we,
Yeah,
when we have, we
yeah,
have it now.
yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Dale read that into the
Yep.
motion of
All right.
$2,079,314. Okay. What was the 8? What it was, hold. Adopt the capital plan was hold, adopt the capital articles was hold, and
Yeah.
that's mainly because we have an approved FY23 budget, but the second part is a 4-year capital plan budget that hasn't been approved yet. Dan Pelletier might want to try to amend the FY23 budget to include a design project for a shovel-ready project if federal funds are released. And again, he'll explain this all Thursday night. Annual department revolving funds or authorization, that's going to be on M is motion to put on the agenda. Prior year bills, motion to be put on the agenda. Promote the town of Harwich, motion to be to be put on the agenda. Supplemental allocation of council for local council grants to be on the agenda. Mark, this is when we can vote. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, accept and adopt. I thought we
Make
could.
the motion?
I know we can't. It's
The herring fisheries?
yeah.
Yeah, we can.
What was AA accept and adopt?
They accepted and adopted it because it had no dollars associated with it.
Oh, it had no dollars associated with
Yeah,
it.
that's-
Oh, so we
that's the
could.
way I
It
heard.
does, and we've been approving.
Oh, this
adopting
is-
it for 100
this-
years.
This is Mark's a perennial. Oh, so we could have
Yeah.
voted for town officers and committees.
Yeah, we
then.
can, I was gonna go back to those, we can vote for those
Okay,
as
well, we'll do that. We'll do that. I'm sorry. I did, that's, okay, I'm sorry. But we'll do herring fisheries. I'd like to entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept and adopt the herring fisheries article.
I'll
Do
second.
we have a second on that? Okay, any further discussion? Mark, you're gonna give us a detailed explanation on this, right?
I don't have it handy, but we'll cover it in town meeting.
Thank you, Mark. This is a perennial, I think, 220-year article or something like, I mean, it's every year. It's usually the last one. I'm surprised to see it up here in the middle of the pack, but,
I think it was easy to add it to the draft, so it'll move down.
It's part of the
Okay.
standard, yeah.
hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, past 7. Let's go back to the first two. That's
Yeah.
right. I'd like to entertain a motion for town officers and committees.
I move that we review and approve the article to hear reports from all town
The
officers
one
and
above
Above, one
that.
above it.
I'm sorry, to choose various town officers and committees.
Seconded?
All those in favor, or any discussion on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, passes 7-0. Next one, okay, good.
I move that we review and adopt the article to hear reports of all town officers and committees.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And aye. Okay. A note here. Okay. Let me, at this point, I just want to mention, we had a past member of this committee would make up forms for us every year as like a tally sheet on how we voted on all the articles. Because part of the requirement per town charter is we have to record not only the numerical vote, but who voted on what. And then that printed in the warrant. And, after I talked with Karen Doucette, put these together, by the way. And after Karen said, do you want me to bring some? I said, sure. But then, about an hour before I came here, I said, wait a minute, they had a lot of color in these forms. And she's going to use up her ribbons. But we do have an expense account, Karen.
Oh, I'm all right.
Thanks for doing this.
But, so it's like a
This is
tally
sample
sheet.
of what we're doing. I'm filling it in live as
Right.
we go.
Okay. And
All of what
so-
we're capturing, yeah.
Because what I told Town Administrator Joe Powers is as we vote these, I will submit them to him with our vote tally and who voted for him, so he can start building the warrant booklet for it. It'll help him also. We'll keep track of who does what. So thank you, Karen, for volunteering to do that.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
So where did we leave off? We left off at the cultural grants. Here's fisheries, that's where we let off. Change selectmen to select board. A motion, motion to put on the warrant. There's some new language change, and the language is in the warrant here. The following is what the town administrator mentioned as placeholders, just to build those. He wants to start building the warrant too, to make people aware of it. So these are just hold. No motion was made to put it on the warrant presently, but it's just a placeholder on the warrant. And I'll just read them because there's nothing we can do with them. Adopt Chapter 200A, Section 9A, disposal of unclaimed property with a hold. Adoption Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 56, gotta love it. Assessment of local taxes, property exemptions, and that was a hold. I don't have a title for the next one after that.
This one?
No,
That's, the one right after that is,
Assessment of local taxes, property exemptions for
no, that's not
veterans.
it. It's,
yeah.
oh, yeah, that's it.
That
Yeah,
one,
assessment
okay.
of local tax.
Somehow
Yeah,
it
you're
didn't,
right.
it didn't print on it, but this is adopt Mass General Chapter 59 Clause, Chapter 5, Section 5, Clause 56, assessment of local town taxes, property exemptions. This is something that is put on by the Board of Assessors. I'm just briefly going to put it, say what it is, but it's a hold. It's to give a tax break to active duty members. I think we've had it before, but it expires and it has to be reaccepted. That's what it says right there. So it's and the Board of Assessors have done a tremendous job, and their chairman, Richard Waystack, of offering, I'm wrong, and I'll be wrong on the number of exemptions they offer, different types of, senior centers with disability, I mean, there's like 10 or 15 special exemptions in there. It's a tremendous things to help taxpayers that are in need. And this is one of those right there. Another one as a placeholder is adopt Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 5N, senior citizens and veteran property tax work off abatement programs. Again, a way for folks to help ease their tax burdens. And there are estimated costs in here by folks doing that. And the cost here was $30,000. The service estimated was not $10,000, but it's a good thing, I think. And housing advocate, this is that full-time position for a housing advocate that we're going to get more clarification on. It was a hold for now. Director of Cultural Affairs, hold for now. This is a placeholder this is a placeholder, as folks may or may not be aware of here or on the line, that it's being proposed, and I think it's been fully accepted by the Harwich selectmen, I know, and I think Chatham's selectmen may have approved it also. It's to put language in the warrant that adjusts the allocation formula for the high school. Right now, it's pretty straightforward, like the tech school, based on the amount of students is what you pay. They're going to adjust this one based on different formulas. This one is particularly based on Chatham being responsible for their own middle school, both capital and operational school, elementary schools, sorry. For their own elementary schools, and Harwich being responsible for theirs. I'm sure that the superintendent and Michael McMillan, the business manager for Monomoy Regional School, will speak more about that. But that's on Thursday night, and they're coming in to speak to that. Fully ask any questions. There's been a lot of discussion on this between the towns. It has to be this new formula has to be accepted by both towns to be fully enacted. And again, this is kind of like the housing coordinator too. I mean, we had a budget further on and a warrant article further on that asked to accept the budget as the old formula. This is asked for a new one. So you can ask tomorrow night to Joe or to the scout administrator or the superintendent how this works. The placeholder on Harwich water dependent structures. I don't quite know what a water dependent structure is, but
I think those are the piers,
pardon?
the piers on the Harry River.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
That's by the Conservation Commission. You're right. It probably is that.
Yeah.
We can get clarification on that. Harwich wetlands. Probably, yeah, you're probably right because it is Conservation Commission.
Here it is.
Can we jump to the ones that the selectmen acted on last night?
They didn't act on anything.
How about Article 38?
30.
Which one?
And there's no article here, but Karen just
Yeah, I put
arbitrarily
numbers
put
to
one.
them.
Karen's 38. Thank you.
Governing.
So that's a private petition. We'll get to that. We're just about there. Okay. And I'll tell you about the private petition too. Disposal of properties unknown, hold. Placeholder on acquisitions of lands, hold. Water department fiscal year, water main design, hold. Amend cemetery rules, hold. Amend code of general bylaws, department revolving funds, hold. Okay, this is to Article 38 according to Karen's numbering scheme,
Yeah.
which will change, I'm sure. It's no, it's not. Community Preservation Act, we've already acted on these.
Yeah.
So we'll skip ahead to them. Next comes the citizens' private petitions. Citizens' private petition, what that is for folks here that may not know, or folks out in the audience, is any citizen in the town of Harwich can petition the selectmen to put an article on the warrant asking for, we'll run through these 6 right here, but asking for all sorts of stuff. And all they need to do that is get 6 or 10 signatures on a private petition, and they have to be obviously town residents. And once those are verified, that's step 1. And I'm not sure of all the steps, but from there it goes to legal to see if legal is an approved warrant article, can be put on the warrant article. And I did send out legal's opinion to everybody on this committee of what legal's opinion were on these 6 on these 6 articles. The only one that, we'll go down through them. And on this one too, now that we have them here, I'd like to see if anyone wants me to have these people come in. Because in the town charter, the finance committee is responsible to, for a few things. And one of us is to make a recommendation on all articles presented on the warrant, non-monetary or monetary. Some of these aren't monetary, and some of these are easy to understand. Some of these I don't quite know what it is, but I can have these folks, the private petitioners, come in and explain their articles if you'd like. The legal opinions on some of them was just that.
Are there descriptions of these on the town website, like the CPC articles?
These aren't CPC articles,
Right.
these are private petitions.
But is there some documentation?
This
similar to
is
what
the full documentation that exists, Dale, on the articles.
the paragraph?
Yeah, the paragraph.
So, like, for the first one, governing the dispersal of,
School choice funds?
school choice funds, in the sample warrant, it says, to see if the town will vote to instruct the Board of Selectmen acting on behalf of the town to petition the state legislature to amend the Massachusetts general laws governing the dispersal of school choice funds to include accredited homeschool participants and accredited private schools. And this is by the request of Daniel Baker.
Right.
So,
So I'm guessing that means that if you send your school to a private accredited school, that they want the town of Harwich to pay for that.
This is homeschooling though.
They also would be.
And
reimbursed for
homeschool, yeah. If you're certified homeschool, that's what that is. So I'd be happy to contact Mr. Baker and ask him to come in. I don't have the legal opinions right in front of me, but I'll,
which way did the selectmen vote?
pardon?
All they vote to is put it on the warrant because you have to
Yeah,
put the
yeah.
citizens initiative petition.
You have to put them
But
on the
they
warrant.
stopped short of accepting and adopting. That was their next
So what
sort
was
of,
their motion?
It just has to go on the warrant.
yeah, just, they're saying it has to go on the warrant. We don't know anything more about it. I don't know if that, initially I would say that there's no cost to that, but I don't know that, because if this goes forward, I assume
Yeah.
there would be a cost, so
Well,
yeah.
I think the legal opinions said, the legal gave their opinion. I do have them, I thought I sent them out to folks. If
Yeah,
I
you did.
didn't,
I read them and I kind of forget, but I can
Yeah.
pull them up.
What's the threshold for getting onto the warrant? Somebody just,
10 signatures,
wow.
Citizens initiative.
yeah. 10 signatures in an annual town meeting, and 100, Angelo, for a special town meeting?
It's something like that.
Yeah.
Not always.
Yeah,
Get that at a family dinner.
yeah. They have to be citizens of Harwich. But yeah, you're right, yeah, anyone, and that's how a lot of the, like one that comes to mind, that a citizen petition was the bottle bill. That's how it got passed. I mean, a citizen brought it to town meeting and they voted on it. And that's the beauty of open town meeting law. It's a New England tradition. I don't think it's really carried on around in the United States too much. But I enjoy it. But we need people to get involved in it. That's the big thing, you know. And because sometimes you can bring a lot of people to a town meeting, but it was meant to be once a year they get together and decide.
I have the legal opinion if you want to hear it.
Sure, I mean, it's up to folks here, or sure if you want to give us. I think
Do
this.
we want to vote on these tonight, or? is it-
No, we're definitely not going to vote on them. No. It's just if people want me to get hold of these people and bring them in for more discussion, because I'd like to see a dollar amount associated. There's got to be a dollar amount associated with this. I mean, that's pretty vague. Accredited private schools. I mean, that's.
You could run into a bee's nest. That could be kids going to Catholic schools.
Right.
Could be kid going to, even though I think what the Monomoy School pays for charter schools, that's
It's kind of like a school choice, but extenuating it out to private schools
and homeschool.
or homeschooling.
It's both.
No, it says
says
private
both.
schools.
It says both.
It says private schools too.
But they're not specific about how
Yeah.
much of an allocation they're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I think the town council said this might be a non-binding one. Does that show up in that legal
Yeah.
opinion?
That would definitely be non-binding.
If, I don't have it in front of me, but my recollection of it was a
They
non,
said, although the article uses the term instruct, in my opinion, the article constitutes a non-binding directive of the Board of Selectmen.
so why don't, I think, I can't speak to it at all. So why don't I give Mr. Baker a call and have him come in?
Sure.
I mean, I think that's a good thing. I mean, that's how we learn about these things.
Yeah, very good.
But will it really pertain to finance? I mean, first of all, they gotta petition the state legislature. It's way beyond this town's purview. It just seems like, you know, you'll be walking into a time-consuming thing. I don't
Being
see
asked to
anything
vote
to
on
gain.
it.
Yeah, I think a citizen has a right to petition
I
the town.
agree. They
So
can
he's
do-
exercising his right, he got his signatures, he qualified, legal gave an opinion. Now, this gentleman may, after reading the legal opinion, may withdraw his article. I do not know that, but I can call him on the phone, talk to him, and he says, oh, no, I'm doing this now. Or he said, yes, I'd like to come before. Because I have contacted one person, I'll get to that when we get to that, who's
Yeah, let's,
more than willing to come in. So why don't we just have him come in?
yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to him. Next meeting, I'll say what we did. I think we owe him as a citizen the courtesy to speak with him, and he can come in and speak with us. Next article is this is a Dan article, I know, I know that. He's gonna abstain on this one. This is, I guess we
We can vote.
could probably vote this one, because this is a perennial,
Yeah.
this is a perennial
$20,000.
article. Defray, like to entertain a motion to accept or to vote on approval.
I move that we discuss and approve the article to defray the expenses of Chase Library and Harwich Court Library in the amount of $20,000.
Seconded.
Oh, okay, what this is, it's a perennial article, Karen, for folks that hadn't been on the committee before and marked. It comes up every year. These are two private libraries, and that's got to be stressed, that these are private libraries. They're not part of the Harwich library system. These are libraries. The Chase Library, I know, was formed by Chase and Sanborn, the coffee people. It's a beautiful, small, I don't want to say little, but small, yeah, library over in West Harwich, right next to the 7-Eleven that used to be there, and in between the bait shop now. And it's a wonderful little place. I mean, it's, and are they open now, Dan, by any chance?
Yeah.
Are they open? Okay.
I was there today.
Okay, because they do have restricted themselves during COVID. The last article of money they spent was to redo the front door, I believe there. Beautiful door.
Restored.
They restored the front door.
It's the original door.
Yeah.
It's 110 years old or something.
Yeah. And I made the mistake when I was first on the committee. I said, why are we paying for these private things? And they said, don't ask that question again, John. So, but you're welcome to ask the question. I implore you to go look at them. And the other one, I have visited the other one too, the Harwich Court Library. That's a neat little, they do a lot of dance recitals there. They have a little stage in there. It's
They rent out space.
it's really a pretty, I mean, there's these little hovels. It's really it's a nice thing to see.
Where's that one?
That's on Bank Street. If you go down Bank Street towards the beach, you 28, make a right or left, heading towards the beach.
Yeah.
It's maybe 100 feet on the left.
Oh,
There's a
Okay.
sign there, and I don't know what their hours are.
Anybody know what days they're open? I'd like to visit.
I have no idea.
I'd love to go there. I mean,
Oh,
I go to
and the
all
Chase
time.
Library too.
Can we get to the vote?
Yes, Mark wants to go home. Okay, I'm just trying to explain to folks here and people, anyway.
We've been approving this
okay.
article for 20 years now.
Yeah, but there's some folks that didn't know that, and, or people in the crowd maybe didn't know that. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Abstain.
Aye, that's 6, 7, 1 abstention. So that's good, that's a nice one, that bit down. Prohibit hunting, this is a very controversial article. I don't know if folks have been reading in the Chronicle about this one. It's basically, they want to ban hunting out at Bell's Neck. Bell's Neck is another beautiful preserve out there, and there's a group that wants to ban hunting. It's a Karen Kuchar Stone. I do not know Carol. I can reach out to her and get her opinion, you know, of this, if we want to, or,
I think she would be happy to come in and explain it to you.
and what's the synopsis just on a legal opinion, either Mark or Dan? I think this is kind of a touchy subject, because there's federal properties involved, old hunting bird laws involved, and
All parcels are under the care of the custody of the Harwich Conservation Commission. So that's
but wasn't the legal opinion, there was federal
It's
stuff
because
involved, and,
there's multiple organizations involved,
yeah.
that it's gonna be tough.
Kind of seems like hunting and hiking are not a good combination.
And it's a it's 200 and something, 272 acres, but that seems, you know, these high-powered rifles, I'm not advocating either way. I was a hunter as a child, I learned a lot about guns with my dad, so it was a good thing. And that's disappearing.
The town took that article to our lawyers, and what was indicated was it really does not, it can be voted, it should go to town, it should be voted yes or no, but what the vote gets is a question to ask the selectmen to do something. It doesn't make it definitely happen, because it doesn't put it on, you know, a next step. So even if it's voted positively, and I think it would be good if it was, that it's not going to get rid of hunting because now, unless the selectmen want to.
Yeah, all we have to do on this is vote. It doesn't have to be a positive motion. It just has to express the you know, our thoughts, and then in town meeting, someone in the town meeting can ask why we voted the way we did, and we have to be able to explain why we did what we did.
I need more
What was the,
information.
but,
Council said that it is not in a paraphrasing, it is not in proper legal form because such a prohibition can only be enacted as a general bylaw. To the extent that the petitioner intends that this article be a non-binding advisory vote directing the Conservation Commission, which will prohibit hunting on this land, it would be a public.
so it's, okay. You want me to ask Carol to come in and speak to us, or do we want to wait on this, or however the board's flavor is, I'm happy to do.
I'm personally not sure what I'm voting on, because it's not about whether I'm for or against
Right.
hunting.
It's unclear.
It's unclear what I'm voting
Yeah.
on.
Why don't we wait then and see what
Because
happens?
to me, it's not about our opinion about hunting, it's about if there's a financial implication. which-
Doesn't matter, we have to vote whether financial or
know.
not.
Yeah.
We just have to give it a, what I'll do is I'll reach out to
I don't know
Carol,
what I'm voting.
telling her there might be an opportunity for her to come in. We're waiting for more clarification from council and selectmen on this. And there is. I wasn't there at the selectmen's meeting that night, but it was very, very well attended against this article.
Yeah.
Not for it, against it. I mean, I think the Chronicle, somebody said it was the most packed agenda, most meeting they've ever seen. So I'll reach out to Carol just so I have a dialogue with her. Next one is, next two, I guess. These articles, and I'm unclear on these two articles too. Both of these have to do with the West Harwich Schoolhouse. It's been, how old are you, Angela? How long have we been talking about this one? So it's unclear to me. I see both sides of the story. I don't know where the selectmen are on actively selling this either, so. I think what I'll do, I've actually spoken to Sally about this. She had sent me a note earlier, and I didn't get the note initially, but when I did find out she wanted to talk to me, I talked to her about it. We talked about these. I think once we figure out what the selectmen's definitive action is on this, and I'll reach out to Sally and see if she would be willing to come in and speak to us at some point, like the other ones. If anyone has anything else on this?
The selectmen voted
Yeah.
to sell it.
Oh, yeah, and I don't know where we actively are in that.
In a certain way, though.
Yeah,
I believe that if you buy it,
You have to preserve it.
you have to preserve it.
you have to preserve the facade. It's, we've been talking about, it's been talked about for years on this, and I don't quite know where we are on it ourselves. So I'll just reach out to Sally and let her know that we're prepared to speak with her if she wishes to come in at the appropriate time.
You know the background on this? This was a,
Well, I know some of it.
Which one?
the West Harwich School.
Oh, yeah,
Lou Urbano put together a CPC article, and he had prisoners coming in.
The clock is an hour slow.
I looked up there, I said, oh, we're doing pretty good here, we're rolling along.
it's over now.
Okay,
Lou had prisoners coming in to do work, he had contractors coming in to do pro bono work, and he was going to establish a maritime boat building
right,
program that got voted down at town meeting by 2 votes.
yeah. So what I'll do is like we've done for Mr. Baker and Carol Stone is I'll call them, let them know what we're up to and give them afford them the opportunity to come in and speak to us. The next one is the last one of the warrant articles, is it? Yes. This one, study best use options for former Harwich Middle School building, middle school, including recommendations for financial self-sufficiency. As we all know, this is the cultural center. There's one description, and then 205 Sisson Road is another description of this building, or something to that effect.
Something like that.
Yeah.
What I'll do on this one is, the petitioner on this one is Richard Gunderson. I have talked with Richard on this a lot, you know, trying to get his opinion. He put together a very well thought out private petition, and if you want to read the entire legal opinion from me, Dan, on this one, this was the easiest one to read, very succinct and to the point, which tells you how well written the article was. It's the last one. It's the last
That's the
one.
last one on there, yeah.
Authorize the sale of, no.
Oh, good.
It's the last, it's one sentence.
Oh, appropriation of $75,000 to study best use options for the former Harwich Middle School. This article is approved as to form.
Right, so the legal opinion in one sentence says this article meets the rules to appear on the warrant. And so that's what that is.
Where did they come up with the $75,000?
I think this is a private group of citizens, not private, but a group of citizens in town that put together this.
But
And
it's not in the warrant as
it's
it was
not in the
submitted.
warrant, you're absolutely right, Carol. It's not in the warrant, but it is in the legal opinion, because I
Yeah.
believe Mr. Gunderson's warrant petition was submitted with a number in it.
Oh, okay.
And it was
Okay.
submitted to the town council, and that's where that 75,000 came back from town council. So I think it was submitted in there somewhere along the way. I have spoken with Mr. Gunderson. He is more than willing to come in here and speak to us at the appropriate time on this. Obviously, from last night's discussion, there is a lot of discussion, and Mr. Gunderson was at last night's meeting. He was the last one to speak for a study on this. There's a lot of discussion on this one. This is a very topical article, and he's willing to come in here and speak to us in his group, I would imagine. But I'm sure, like as Mr. Chairman McCaskill said last night, there will be more opportunity to discuss this in greater detail.
So this one is tied to the hiring of the Director of Cultural Affairs?
Yeah, well, it's to give a private, it's to give a.
No,
an
no, I know
alternate.
what it is, and what I'm saying is, we need the job description of that person that they're proposing for the Director of Cultural Affairs, because if that includes doing a study like this, which has been discussed, a business plan of sorts, then why would you also hire a consultant? But if we don't go forward with that position, then we should say, then there would be a more, a greater need, if you will, to do a study. In my view, a study needs to be done by somebody, whether it's a consultant or what the town administrator had said is part of the responsibility of this Director of Cultural Affairs, in addition to managing the building and writing grants, would be to write this business plan, not to write it themselves, but to manage, oversee the writing of a business plan across all the departments. So, to me, it's about, you wouldn't want them both.
Yeah, I know what
You
you're
see
saying,
what I'm
yeah.
saying?
There's like two counterpoint to the one question.
Yeah,
And
and
Richard's
so-
point is,
Yeah,
let's hire a professional this time.
a third
There's-
party.
Yeah, there's been two study groups over the course of 6 years, come up with different conclusions on how to handle that building. The selectmen decided to do a cultural study aspect for the last
Trial, yeah.
trial for the last
6.
7 minus 2, 5 years, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's what all the numbers from FY17 represent to presently. And that's where we are. Richard is suggesting, and he can speak more clearly, but reading this and talking with him, he'd like to have a professional outfit come in here and examine, is there a need for this? If there is a need for it, what is the plan for it? What are the costs? What are the long-term, it was mentioned last night, one of the selectmen, Larry Ballantyne, wanted a more comprehensive
Right.
capital plan. And so it's having it professionally looked at and then make up with recommendations as to what we should go back to town with.
Yeah.
That's my understanding of this.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Richard also floated an interesting idea
He
about
did.
a nonprofit last night, so, yeah, I think it's fine.
That's the first time I had heard that point of a floating a nonprofit. I spent a couple hours over at the Cape Cod Cultural Center in Yarmouth. This was a privately done nonprofit 5013C. And I recommend anyone in the committee go over there and speak with Molly. I'm not even going to tempt her last one. It's about 4 miles long. But Molly, tell her that I sent you over there, and she'd be happy to show you and show what they've done as a nonprofit. Very slight burden to the town of a tune of $400,000, but they are self-sufficient. Granted, it's a much, much smaller scale building, but it does incorporate some of the aspects of what this cultural site. It doesn't have a theater or gymnasiums, but they do have a cultural. They do have a kitchen there that they do things in. They have a woodworking shop there. They have a musical theater studio there. Go over. I mean, you talk about the tech school. It's a very professionally run group over there. They do concerts, so go look over there. This is a big topic. It needs everyone's independent due diligence on it. However you achieve that, it's up to you. But that's one thing to do it. So. Richard, like I say, he and his group is willing to come in here and do that. That concludes our warrants on the agenda, and I didn't realize that. I kept looking at the clock. Geez, I'm doing really well here. So if we can move on, I jumped out of scale here a little bit. Discussion of town budget. I don't think we really need too much more discussion there. We're going to be discussing. It follows up line item H, which has been quoted to me. It's a squibbler's error. I don't know what a scribbler's error is.
Scrivener.
Huh?
Scrivener.
Scrivener. I like that word. It's better than saying I goofed up, huh? And the scribbler's error. But this is basically the department heads in Monomoy meeting for tomorrow night. And also in that meeting is, it's on the selectmen's agenda, which hope I have here.
That's tomorrow night?
Thursday night, John.
Thursday night, yeah, what'd I say?
He's tomorrow night.
They're all blending
Sorry.
together, aren't they?
They are blending together, and we haven't even started yet, really. But the selectmen's agenda, I don't have it, I could look at, stop, right here, selectmen's agenda. I'll do it because it's important for the townspeople out there, if anyone has a comment, but for folks listening and dialing in later that may review this meeting. And all are welcome. Please come to the meeting tomorrow night and ask your questions to these department heads. Thursday night. I spend a lot of time during the day putting these things together, so Monomoy School System is coming in, Channel 18, Council on Aging. Council on Aging is a good one because that's another department that's asking for a full-time head. Emily Mitchell will have more than enough information on that. Fire Department is coming in. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be talking about, if the selectmen are going to be, as we gave a presentation to us once, the selectmen have a grant in front of them called the SAFER Grant. It's for 4 full-time firefighters that the federal government will pick up for 4 years, their salaries. That doesn't cover their full salaries, but maybe the chief will speak to that a little bit more, waiting for the selectmen to make a decision on that. They're going to make a decision whether or not they want to proceed on that. The harbors, John Rodone group are coming in. Recreation, that's Eric Beebe. Wastewater and Water Department, that's Dan Pelletier. And Youth Counselor. And then also after that, item C and D is discussion and possible vote on free cash policy, because we've had topics of discussions on this, and projected revenues. We had questioned that projected revenues for fiscal year 23 were low. Some of us thought they were low compared to actuals of fiscal year 21. And we'll discuss that and talk about it tomorrow night. Again, it's the selectmen's budget. They will decide on what they want to put in there. And we can agree to disagree on that. Free cash policy, there's state mandates on that. We can hear that tomorrow night. The auditors mentioned it briefly last night. And then the discussion and possible vote on all items related to the general budget. Old business, this is where they might discuss and possibly vote on fiscal 23 school committee budget for the Cape Cod Regional Tech, which we voted on tonight, and the budget as presented by the Monomoy School District tomorrow night. So it's a good meet, Thursday night, it's a good meeting tomorrow, Thursday night.
Now, can I just ask you a question?
Yeah,
When we talk about the middle school and turning it into a cultural center.
yeah,
To speak in a way that is sensible, they have to know how much money they are now losing per month.
well, that's,
By having the building up.
That-
That's one part. The second part, they have to understand how many things they need to do to keep the building alive,
right,
et cetera. And then they need to know what kinds of people they want in that building, what kinds of things in the building. Do they have everybody being artists and those kinds of things, or do you have people playing pickleball and making
Yep.
restaurants? Because otherwise, it just goes around and around and around.
yeah. I agree 100%, Ed, on all those, and again, it was mentioned last night that Selectman Valentine would like a more detailed capital explanation, and I would too. I would definitely, because we see potential capital projections going out 5 years of $1.2 million. I feel that it's a much larger number. I'd like to go out 10 years personally, but we'll discuss that too.
You know, I'd also like to suggest that instead of hiring somebody, we have people who are working there who are very talented, and we also have people who deal with all the businesses in town.
Yep.
And we build a little committee of 3 or 4 people to take a look at it. You could do it for free, you know?
Yep.
And they would give you a good idea. I think the people who have their own buildings there have ideas on, not buildings, own offices there, have an idea what they want to do.
Yep, and as mentioned by, Chairman McCaskill last night, there will be more opportunities for us to discuss this, but time is running out though too, and what we can do is best thing we can do is get the information, or try to get the information we need, and act accordingly. And so with that said, if anyone has anything else to say, I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And my closing statement on adjournment is, the meeting has ended. There will be no further discussion. Thank you.